On day release, demon sub tries not to crease, and Ewok's keeping nice and warm in bed with Russian uniform. Meanwhile, the handyman is opening another can. Technical difficulties, they're really such a crime. Technical difficulties, they happen all the time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop time. Sometimes they're salty about the gaming biz, and nobody knows who Upworlder is.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another show. I forgot to check that my microphone was working. Luckily, it is.
Did you just gamble?
No, I
just took a motherfucking punt on it and came out winning.
It just occurred to me as we went live. I thought, fuck, because I've got caught out on previous weeks. It works when I'm talking to you, and then we go live, and it's like the fucking Marcel Marceau meme on.
Look at Darren getting in there immediately with what he's doing this evening. Jeez, Darren, give us a chance to start.
Metal model kit my friends bought me for birthday a few weeks ago. 2 laser cuts, stainless steel sprues. You clip the part out and fold. Builds are not Gundam. Okay, but a Gundam in metal. Well, that's because you're always fucking posting obscenities, Tim. You should curb it. Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another hobby live stream. We hope you all had a good week since we last seen you. Let's shout out the chat because we always do that first. It's been a bit busy tonight. Look at that, scrolled off the screen. Good evening to Cheese Me. Good evening to Pandy. That's Paul from Pandyman Entertainment. Check him out online. Good evening to Tim. That's some dude on YouTube. Check him out on both Twitch and YouTube. Who else we got?
He's Sundance GE on Twitch.
Yes, Sundance.de, I think. GE. Darren, that's Demon Sub over on Instagram. Spam an Egg, hello. That's David's other half, for those of you that don't know. And if you're new here, and that's it. Yeah. Yeah, you say that, Tim. Nothing obscene. What's that? I was just telling Stan that I mistook her daughter's faith. I'll pray for... You creep. Right, yeah. What is going on here? Why is my Windows spazzing out? Right, okay.
Because it's a Windows product and it probably got updated.
Tim says, I need new glasses. Possibly, Tim. Possibly. I'm overdue an eye test. So, yeah, good evening to everybody. Yeah, I know. I get them all the time on Facebook. It's like, we've got a friend to suggest for you. Okay, some Latvian woman with triple D breasts. I'm fairly sure I don't know her. Should I accept this friend request? Perhaps not. God love your Facebook, you wretched hive of scum and villainy.
No, it's not Disney Plus, Paul. It's not Disney Plus.
That reference was just for Tim, because I know he's a bit of a Star Wars fan. So yeah, hello everybody. Welcome to another show. If you're new here, over the next couple of hours, oh God, no. Over the next couple of hours, we're going to be doing our usual routine. So David and I, this is a hobby live stream after all. So David and I will show you what we're going to be working on over the next couple of hours. Then we will have a quick chat about Gaming Club on Monday and what we got up to. Because, we don't just sit here on the internet. We actually do this shit,
Do we?
Yeah, apparently.
Do we really?
Then we've got a surprisingly not salty news section. That might have broken reality. But just bear with us.
A bit of salt to spread. There's a little bit of salt.
Honestly, there's hardly any salt or moaning and bitching. In fact, it's quite... Oh, cheese me. Did we see the Strike Commander? We'll tell you later.
Have you seen... Wait for the news segment, boys and girls. Wait for the news.
Right. Then, about 9 o'clock, unless we've had enough and call it a night, we will talk about our main topic, which is... you might have not gleaned it from the thumbnail and the topic, the title, but we wanted to talk about how the gaming and hobby arc goes, because as you age in the hobby, I think a lot of parameters and dimensions change. Obviously, I've personally been doing this sort of miniature wargame thing, if whatever umbrella you want to put over it, since I was 14, which is 40 years. I'm 54 this year. So 40 years I've been doing this. Holy shit. That's a long time. That makes me feel a bit depressed. And things are definitely different for me now than when I was a 14-year-old. And I think that journey's not atypical for people in the miniature wargaming hobby. So we thought we'd waffle a bit about that. And do you know what? Everybody can feel free to pile in with this, because I've got a fairly good idea that most of the people in our chat, at least, have been in this game a reasonably long time. So your thoughts and sort of like cogitations, basically...
Darren has been in this hobby longer than I have been alive.
Yeah. I love the way Darren... sort of like says, I've been in since White Dwarf 145. What the fuck? I wasn't charting it by White Dwarf numbers. Rogue Trader was 88, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. Might have been 87. But that's sort of basically when I started. I was doing D&D before then, but I don't really count that as a miniatures hobby. I started, yeah, I thought I was close. Darren, I started with Dungeons and Dragons when I was 11. So I was doing that for about 4 years before I even looked at Rogue Trader as it was then. Rogue Trader was my first miniatures game, but we'll get to that later. Damon joined his club in 88. So what age were you then, Damon? And back in 88? I'd have been 17 back in 88. Yeah, 71. Yeah, 88. Oh dear. Spam's been in the hobby about 3 minutes. Oh Christ, Damon's even older than me. So you're coming up. You're within spitting distance of the big 6-0 then, Damon. So right. Do you want to go first, mate, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, come on down, boys and girls.
Come on down. It's not The Price Is Right, for fuck's sake.
It is The Price Is Right. So
tonight, Michael, I will mostly be.
No, Damon, you're cheesy, but we'll come to that later.
Yeah, which are you, Damon? Wine or cheese, mate?
Tonight we're painting vampire skin tones.
Hi, Crispin.
Just before stream started, I put a wash on my Claws of Karanak capes and bandages.
Go back. Let me see the capes. So what did you do? Agrax those flesh. Oh, it's the actual furs. You haven't done the skin. No, okay, carry on.
Yet.
That's the bit I'm most interested in. Those flayed skin garments on those. And
then, as I say, I'm just doing the I'm doing bright warm grey from Proacryl for their vampire skin tone.
I love the yellow palette that you've got on that lower half of that model. Are you
yellow orange?
Hang on a minute. So you've got the fabric of the sort of skirt, I'll call it. Then you've got those two things that are dangling down. Is that
tassels.
All finished painting?
No, not yet.
Okay. Because it looks like you've sort of got tans and browns. What about the bit above? Is that painted?
There's tans and browns on his
that's
bamboo mat at the
I
side.
Love that.
Side.
That is a really good colour combo.
What I'm thinking of doing is putting a turquoise or a blue in here.
Yep.
Behind these ropes, and then doing like a natural rope colour on the front.
That should work really well. They're nice models.
And then doing a black patent leather armour that's up on their shoulders. Just to tie it together.
So basically you're just ploughing on with all of your Warcry stuff. More of the same.
Yes.
Just doing the work. Well, it's pretty much the same.
I don't know, like 2025, I've started, so I'm going to mean as a carry on. Like, I've actually made some quite decent dents in projects this year. I've made a decent dent in, finished Moonstone.
Yeah.
And made a decent dent 6/10 of the way into, what's it called? Mutant Year Zero.
Yeah. To be fair, you're having a really good year. To be honest, you're smashing it, mate. I'm doing much the same. I'm ploughing on with something that I've got started. Obviously, David said he'd finished his Moonstone. I'm still working on mine. I'm going to try and get, I think this is Antonia, the Noonday Witch, finished.
You do realise you're like 5 minutes away from painting comp as well. Have you even started that?
No, I'm not. But it'll be fine. So yeah, I'm doing Antonia. I did think about doing my painting comp tonight, but it's like I said to you when I came on. I'm absolutely exhausted and ready for a break from work, but unfortunately, I haven't got one for weeks, and my energy levels and motivation are pretty short on them at the moment. You guys know what it's like. How it goes in waves. Sometimes you really buzz to get stuff done, and the rest sometimes you just grinding through it, and that's the way I am at the moment. I'm just sort of doing a painting, a bit, half an hour here, half an hour there, and I'll get sick of it and jack it off. I know, Tim. The more I
Jerk
think,
it off.
the more I think about it, I'm probably just going to bottle that and go for a matte black enamel. Because the other thing is, I think if I don't colour it, I will get a better effect on the green bubbly potion inside. Whereas if I start to add colour there, I think it'll lessen the impact of that.
It depends on what colour you add.
So, just for ease, I'm probably going to be doing that black. I've got a lovely dark, I've got the German camo black brown that I'm going to use on things like her sandal straps. I've started adding it to this waistline, this waistband thing. And then we've got like a bag here. So we're going to, and then the thing is, there's a few little details on this miniature. There's some little test tube files with potions in. So these are going to need thinking about. Then black, again, her hair, I'm not sure. The older witch have gotten for an obvious grey hair because she's like basically an old hag. I didn't know, because obviously I want...
Isn't the young one really ginger?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure there was a realistic transition between the three, as if they are realizations or animations of the same individual. Even though they've got different names, I wanted to sort of play upon the fact that they might actually be the same person at three different stages of their lives, just because of my sort of like internal head canon for how I wanted this to go. So I'm not sure. Obviously, if I do ginger if I do a really good fiery orange on the young girl, which could work, then I'll have to do like maybe a salt and pepper half grade red head.
Could you do it more like a strawberry blonde?
Blonde was to be fair, that was going to be my default lazy bastard setting. Do the younger girl with luscious sort of like you say, strawberry blonde hair, and then do
Why
this.
Why is my partner lying like fuck on stream? You are friends with most of the people here, darling. They know your age.
I liked him 28mm or 28K. Oh dear. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be working on. Obviously, if you're working on anything, just let us know in the comments down below if you're watching us later on YouTube, or in the chat over there. I always get discombobulated by that. Obviously, Darren's doing his Gundam. Let me get this camera out of my face now. I'm done with it. Yeah, go on.
So, boys and girls, Paul has broken my promise of not getting a new game system this year because I was 30 yesterday.
Technically not true. Technically.
Technically is true. We now own Hobgoblin, bitches.
And some of you, the more observant among you, might say, hang on a minute, didn't you guys say when you played the free test scenario that it was a bit shit and you broke it in like half an hour? To which we answer, yes.
Yes.
That was a thing that did happen. But we... I think we were the first
We've done a bit of digging since, haven't we?
I think we were the first to admit that well, let me put it this way. My logic for buying this for David, number one, it doesn't break our rule because we've already played the game. because we played the test rules. Number
That's
two,
so fucking caveat, though. That's unreal, dude.
number two, I cannot think of a game system that suits him down to the ground more. We've been talking. Basically, we spent 2/3 of last year, talking.
Dicking around with rank and flank.
Well, talking about which is the best rank and flank rule system for David, blah blah blah. Now, the other thing about Hobgoblin is it's got that dimension of print any miniatures you want, collect any miniatures you want.
Well, again, you can have an army of dwarves, goblins, elves, humans. You can do whatever you really want with it.
Literally,
as long as you know what's heavy infantry, what's light
Yeah.
infantry, what's cavalry, etc.
you write the profiles for your own units. You can literally use any models you like, and you will create your own profiles. I could not think of a product that was more made for him than that game. In the rank and flank thing, which is I knew something he wanted to explore, and it was like, we just got to try it. We got to get it. We've got to get it because again,
I will say though, we may have jumped to conclusions because I had a quick skim last night. You're not allowed to buy tough multiple times.
Yes.
So what you can do is you can buy tough and you can buy tough +1.
Yes.
Or tough and tough +2. What
Yeah.
you can't do is buy tough 1, tough 1, tough 1 to make
Yeah.
something tough 3.
Yeah. And there's loads of things that weren't in the base game, weren't there? Like magic for a start. I think there's definitely room to explore that.
There's also the fortune card. So we said it was a little bit rock, paper, scissorsy.
Yes.
There's some fortune cards and a fortune deck. It's 48 cards, 24 cards, 2 of
Okay.
each in the deck.
Yep.
And they give you a bit of back and forth play and interaction as well.
Okay. So yeah, that's my defense for getting that for him. So
I didn't break the rules, Spam. Paul broke the rules. But what we have discovered, boys and girls, is that if I buy Paul Strike Team Commander and Paul buys me Strike Team Commander, then technically they're both gifts for each other.
But we haven't played it, so that definitely is breaking the rules.
Is it though?
Yes, it is though.
Is it? Is it really?
But
more on that in a minute.
Cheeseme's just discovered Tenacious D. Never a bad thing.
Sake. So I'm painting a female vampire. She has literally a band-aid over her titties to stop her nipples slipping.
That's more than some of your miniatures. So, club, you go first.
Oh, what did I do, boys and girls? Well, for those of you in the know, it is what? 9 days until the tourney. 9 days until we go up to Manchester.
Hang on, when is this tournament?
The 8th of March.
Shit. I can't go. Because my stepson's coming down for the weekend.
Dude.
Soz. Carry on.
Right, I've got a spare ticket then.
Oh, Trevor will go.
No, Trevor's working that week.
Oh, is he? Yeah, John's coming up from Brighton, mate. A stepson.
Fair enough.
I thought it was the 15th for some reason.
No, it's the fucking 8th.
Soz.
Literally planned this months ago with you, and I do even believe it's in your fucking calendar.
Possibly.
Fucking look at this bell end.
Anyway, carry on.
So I was doing my last prep game.
Now,
which
we need to talk
was
about this because
weird.
I was too busy at club night.
Well, let's talk about this. I had really bad feelings about A, this scenario, and B, the game in itself, because we was playing with the Mantic recommended levels of terrain. So I was playing Dwarves versus Alex's Northern Alliance, and we were playing X marks the spot. So in X marks the spot, you have to have a small boat end within 3 inches of the island.
Yep.
And you pick up 3 treasures. You have a medium or large boat end within 5 inches of an island, and you can pick up a treasure at end of round.
Yep.
Wonderful. Your little boats, if they end within an inch of the big boats at any point, they can also then pass the treasures across. The little boats can only carry 6 treasures. The big boats can carry unlimited amounts of treasure. So me and Alex felt a bit bad about this game. I had a realization that I fucked up one of the miniatures I was playing with because I've paid extra points to give him upgraded hull, but I hadn't printed out the card with the updated details on. So
Okay.
Alex sank him, but he wasn't actually sunk.
Okay.
So I had to fix that for starters. Secondly, I felt bad about this game because I kept misjudging the distance and the moves, and Alex was sort of running away with it early on. May I announce, boys and girls, that I won in the end 16-7 by grounding 2 boats against islands.
How did you actually force the groundings then?
I just fucked up on my evade rolls.
Right.
Wasn't even intending to run aground, but I ran aground because I'm a shit captain.
Okay. And that meant you won?
Yeah, I won because I just kept picking off a treasure at the end of every round.
Right.
Alex had one of his boats fuck off and then come back, so he was like 3 turns of not scoring anything with that particular boat.
Okay.
He had another boat dash itself upon the rocks because rocks in Armada are brutal, and if you hit them, they will kill you. No evades, just do damage.
Really?
Yes. And
Okay.
it did just enough to sink Alex.
Right.
And then the other one was just a bit of gamemanship with my little boat squirrying around here and there and sinking one of his boats that had a lot of treasures on it.
So even though you weren't happy necessarily about the low levels of terrain, the game went quite well for you in the end.
Yes.
Okay. So what's the thinking on the correct, and I use that in bunny ears, levels of terrain?
This is too little.
Right.
But we use too much.
Yeah. Okay.
This is too little, and the reason I say this is too little, there is no path choices or anything. It's literally, oh, Alex is turning away from me. Quick, give chase. And turn. No terrain to avoid, no maneuvering, no cover given. For just going, right, I'm going to go fucking after him and sail chasing him down.
Yeah.
Which is annoying. The second really annoying thing is, yet again, me and Alex were running as fast as we could at 3 most of the game to stop each other's boarding shenanigans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, cheese me. Fuck off.
What's that?
Too little, and he still hits rocks and islands.
That's fair. That is fair.
But there is fucking what's it called? Derailed my train of thought now. Because of the sheer lack of terrain, it was very much a shooting man's game.
Yeah. Okay.
And literally just hooking dice, looking for crits most of the time.
Yeah.
Because I'm going flat out, Alex is going flat out, we're veteran, we're over 10 inches away from each other, so all of the stats stacks are basically we're looking for 9s and 10s.
Right. And nobody's boarding anything. And again, the low terrain just made that worse.
Yes.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
So yeah, That was me at club.
That's interesting. I don't know quite what to say. This basically shutting down close combat could be a real potential problem for
This is the thing. So
Armada.
me and Alex have both built boarding lists, so some close combat, because we said in earlier games that close combat is quite powerful, which it is.
Yeah.
Because you send people aboard and everything.
Much more reliable than shooting.
Lists,
it's actually surprisingly difficult, isn't it, to sink boats with cannon fire?
Me and Alex built lists going, oh, that's going to be a thing at tournament. And yet we've both discovered how to break it, because you just go, I'm going at speed 3. Poop, 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 as I'm putting across the map. Alex does have some counteraction to it. So rams are quite powerful. So if he plows into a ship and he doesn't sink it with his ram, he will slow it down. So he can then board it, because he slows himself down as well, which is quite good.
Yeah.
And if he, on one of his boats, if he does over 8 damage in a single shooting, he slows it down a speed as well. So Alex has some countermeasures. I literally am running boarding vessels for stay the fuck away from my little boats. That is the only reason I am running them.
Okay, as a defense.
To act as insurance for the little boats, because I am sailing mainly as a flotilla. And also, it being a tournament, orcs are probably going to be there. Twilightkin are probably going to be there, which are quite close combat boardy factions.
I mean, the orcs have the ram option.
Being orcs have ram, and orcs don't give a fuck that you're going at speed 3. They just hit you slightly less often.
Wow.
You get a +1 penalty.
Okay. So they can still,
but is the way to break it, yeah.
But they can crucially attempt to board.
Yeah, so usually it'll be 4s if you're running a veteran crew. It'll be 5s if you're going flat out.
Okay. Which is, still 30% of the time.
Hence why I've built some anti-boarding boats.
I suppose
the only thing
like you say, that somebody's bound to bring orcs, so it's not a bad idea to have them. You will get to use them, I think.
And also, it's a threat, because if somebody runs aground and has a load of treasure, etc., I can just poodle up with my little boat, plan my approach so that I'm not getting shot to shit on my way in.
Yeah.
To then utilize them and do them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because the other thing is, there isn't really a lot of options or mechanisms in the game to slow your opponent down, are there?
No, magic and crit fishing. That's pretty much it.
And magic you don't do.
Well, yeah, I've chosen not to do, haven't I?
The dwarves can still choose to do it if they wish, can they?
Yes, there is a dwarven list out there.
Okay, so it's not as if they're not non-magical like they are in some IPs.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Obviously, it's a shame I won't be able to go, but
I'm disappointed you're not making it now.
Yeah, because as I say, family have to come first, unfortunately. Ross was sorting it out this weekend with him coming down from Brighton.
Coming up, you geographical fucking retards.
Whatever. Up, down, left, right. I played Burrows and Badgers. Here's just it's probably not the best pick. I got a ton of picks. My plan, whether it comes to fruition or not, is to actually do a full battle report on Tabletop. So I've had 2 taster games of Burrows and Badgers. So Trevor and I played our first campaign game. Burrows and Badgers, I love the miniatures. The game is a bit random, and it's just a bit. This game is beer and pretzels. You can't.
Question: is it more random than Frostgrave?
Yes, and I'll tell you for why. The one element that makes it more random, possibly in a bit of a frustrating way than Frostgrave, is that Michael. We've discussed it before. The critical system. So, like, for people who don't know, Burrows and Badgers is a poly dice. Yes, I'm really interested to see what happens with the second edition. I noticed it's up for pre-order, and I probably will pre-order it, Darren. But for people who don't know, it's a poly dice system. Basically, use like the Dungeons and Dragons D4, D6, D8, D12, D8, D10, D12, and you don't really use D20. But basically what happens is the stats of your animals move up and down the D4 to D12 scale. So, you know, like an otter might be D6, D8 strike, and a mole will be D6 block. So you effectively roll off. Your opponent rolls their strike, you're rolling against your block. But the weird aspect to it is, if you roll the highest natural roll on your dice, you can add 7 to the total.
So on a D4, you're critting every 4 rolls.
Yes. So although your starting roll is low, on a D4 you crit 25% of the time. On a D12 you obviously only crit 8% of the time. But the crit effect is the same for both dice. So a 12 effectively becomes a 19, and a 4 effectively becomes an 11. So even with the crit effects, as long as the dice are far enough apart, the crits balance out. But what happens is the high incidence of critting on the lower dice just mean that it's random as fuck. Because if you, like, there are some rules, there are some mechanisms that you can use fate points to roll. It's a bit like rolling with advantage. You roll 2 dice and take the one you want. But I mean, so many times during the game, I would roll 2d8s looking for, you know, a good roll. I'd get a 1 and a 2, and my opponent rolls like a d6 and gets a 6 natural. And it's just like,
at which point it doesn't really matter
no.
what you do.
It's like, it's so dice sensitive, and it's like two of my models got 1-shot crit a la Frostgrave. Literally every model has 16 health, which does help a bit, but it's still possible for something with a high strike or a high range stat to 1-shot kill a creature, a critter. And that happened to me twice.
Well, again, even the D4, with the crit on the D4, if it's taking a little bit of chip damage on the way in...
I mean, and like you say, you do deduct your opponent. Like, say, for example, you shoot... It happened with ranged attacks. Basically, Trevor's leader of his warband is an otter with a bow. So
of course he is.
He rolls... I think he's rolling a D8 for his range stat. So he rolls 8, plus 7 is 15... He's got strong built in. He has a broadhead arrow which adds another damage. So it takes him to like 17 damage. If I roll a 1 to block, that's it. Gone. Done. Dead. And like I say, don't get me wrong. It's a cool game. It's a very clever mechanic. And I love the I mean, I love the way that he's just totally embraced the most random fucking madness. But it does mean that it's not a game for, you know, if you're somebody who relishes the minutiae of dice interactions and sort of feeling really clever and strategic, this isn't your game at all. Because it's like, just roll it and hope. Yeah. So, as I say, I enjoyed it. One of my models, I got completely ruffle stomped in the game, but I only lost one miniature permanently. Pretty much everybody made a full recovery. I'll tell you the other thing I do like. If your model gets taken out but then makes its recovery roll, you get double the experience for taking part.
Yeah.
So there's quite a nice little payback. Yeah, you got all your models taken out, but you know, you to actually die.
Double XP because it.
Yeah, to actually die, you have to fail a fortitude test, and then you have to roll 1 or 2 on a d20. So it's a less than 10% chance that you'll lose a model permanently. And if you don't, like I say, it gets double the experience for playing the game. So yes, enjoyed it. But obviously I'm interested to see how the campaign plays out with the upgrades. I do like the experience system. I like the den system. There's a load to explore in it, and I can't wait to get some more miniatures. That's the other nice thing, is like Trevor's warband's already met another random small creature, and I don't have any, so I need to buy some now. So I'm going to be buying some shrews or mice or something like that.
Dude.
Yeah.
I will send you some links after stream.
What, for printers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sounds cool. But yeah. Oh, stop. What's that? So yeah, that was Club.
It's now everybody's favourite time of the show.
Well, you say favourite. And I promise, well, I was about to say no salt. Not much salt? Is that a thing?
Slight seasoning. There we go.
It's the part of the show that we have come to know as the latest salty blizzard of nerdy.
Not true. Not true.
More news than you can shake the salt at. More news than you can shake the salt at.
It's all lies. Right, the news. Right, where am I? Content plus blah 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 blah.
Where are we starting tonight?
Boom. Chickity boom. Right. It did Ewok. If everybody can congratulate Ewok in the chat there. Ewok's the man who is responsible for all the soundscaping here on Yellowbelly Tabletop. Him and his awesome fucking manipulation of fucking AI music tools. Well done, Ewok. Brilliant work, mate. Where were we? Yes, so I'm going to stop painting now because I want to talk about this. So, I haven't shared a video by Goobertown for a while. I don't necessarily like all of his content, but Goobertown Hobbies did a video.
Brent is a bit acquired, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, again, he tends to be a bit GW centric, so a lot of it's a bit meh. Don't really get it. But But I tell you what, this is a fucking cool, inspiring video. You should watch this just for the inspiration. Him and the chap from eBay Miniature Rescues, can't remember his name, who's one of his buddies, they basically get together and in 100 hours they paint an entire Imperial Guard army. And this video is fantastic on so many levels. Number one, they literally take you through the whole project, showing you how to cut corners, how to set yourself up, how to use an airbrush when it's appropriate, dry brush when it's appropriate. Just basically it's loads of little useful tips compiled into one long narrative, which is really cool. The army looks absolutely fine at the end of it. It's not Golden Demon winning, but it's a fucking entire army painted in 100 hours, which is no mean feat. It's just a great little video. And buried in this video is something that really excited me. I'm going to try and skip to it here. Okay, so Brent and this chap from eBay Miniature Rescues, I've set up a company called Goblin Hobbies, and they're doing these bloody stamps. So what you've got here is an alternative to decals.
I've
I've
seen
done that
this,
wrong.
and this is something that I was interested in doing on Gaslands cars.
Right.
So they're like an etched stainless steel plate, aren't they?
Correct. You put your
and they
you put your paint.
nail art typically, but obviously these have been done specifically with 40k in mind.
Yeah.
So you put paint in the recess, you then level it off with like a credit card.
Yeah.
And then you pick it up with like a see-through pad thing, don't you? And then slap it on your model.
Yeah. So, obviously they did mention in the video, Cheese Me, that these are already used in the nail art industry. But obviously they've done stencil sets that are imagery that are more gamer friendly. So you haven't got like random shit like butterflies, stars, and fucking unicorns. They've done stuff like, there's one with all of the Space Marine chapter symbols or approximations of. They've got stenciled numbers for doing vehicle markings and shoulder pads. Again, it's not new technology, it's just a sort of a new application of it. I imagine the stamps they use are the same in the nail art, which is just like basically a plastic cylinder with a soft silicone ball in it.
Yes.
It would be good for multi-ordering in Moonstone. But essentially the good thing about this is they literally show this product being used in the project. So it's not like a demonstration video of how to apply the stamp to one miniature. You get to see how this product works in a workflow.
Production line it in a workflow and stuff.
And again, they use it to do one of the shoulder pad designs. It's basically just like a red diamond, just like you get from a standard deck of cards shape. And then they got a stamp of the number 108 across it. So as like a bloody regiment number. And do you know what? They're not all square. They're not all perfect. They use it to put laurel wreaths around the edges of hatches. They do loads of cool things with these stamps. It's cool to see. So did Jerry repurpose the actual nail art stuff, Cheese Me? Because Cheese Me says Jerry on Tabletop has already covered it in a jerry can. But these, as I say, I'm very interested in this. Okay, so he was using basically nail art stuff. Okay, cool. So yeah, there's another video that you can go and look at. but it'll be interesting to see what ranges of stencils they come out with, what designs are on them. Because another thing that they did for this was like checker plate. They've got a checker plate design. They've got like a hazard stripe design, so that you can. And they were putting them on with white ink or white paint, and then using other inks to stain and colour them. They did like dwarven runes or magic runes up a power sword with it. There's loads of little applications that seem this would be good for. But yeah.
And again, nice that somebody's actually taking the time and effort to do considered designs, because that's one thing I will say. I've been looking for some for my Gaslands cards for a while.
Okay.
To do like some Japanese cherry blossom on my Miyazaki.
Yep.
But actually finding ones that are not, I'm just buying it for one particular stamp, or there's a couple that I could use.
Okay.
Is quite slim. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Because again, I was even thinking of getting some of the Halloweeny themed nail art ones that have like skull and crossbones and shit on. Because again, Gaslands.
Yep.
And could be used for other stuff.
Okay.
So.
What sort of price do you buy them in packs, or do you buy them singly? What sort of price do they cost?
Buy them in packs or buy them singly. I've been looking at a few places. They range anywhere from like £3 a plate to 9 or 12 quid for 3 or 4 plates and the stamper, etc.
Okay, so basically these needs to be a similar sort of price point, or they're just hobby taxed to all fucking hell. Very okay.
Or you could argue, yes, £6 for one of these plates because it's all just specific for wargaming.
True, and it's
Wouldn't
a
be
niche
bad.
market. You're not gonna sell as many of these as you would for fucking generic ones for nail salons, are you? Yeah, they almost certainly will be. Still, an interesting look at the other thing is, are they going to be distributed outside of mainland US? That's going to be the other thing. Well, it's 40k themed, maybe.
But again, maybe it's 40k themed to try and sell some more.
Yeah, I guess that is a risk, isn't it, Cheese Me? But I tell you what, obviously I'd missed Jerry's video, but I've seen this now, and I'll tell you what, I'll be exploring it, particularly for shoulder pad designs on all sorts of sci-fi miniatures, and again helmet designs. If you could get, why doesn't somebody do bloody World War II ones with fucking regiment markings and shit? That would be cool. Somebody going to put in the chat, they do. So that's the first thing. We've got 10 minutes. We talked about it earlier. Do
that one. If you're doing Strike Team, do that one last.
I'm doing them. Okay, let's do Timber Tides then. So
Timber Tides is nice and quick and easy.
This was one David sent me.
Is a Doom Scrolly Kickstarter with 3D printable buildings and docks for your wargaming table.
What did I hear? Supportless for FDM?
Yes, I do believe you did hear supportless, and it's really innovative supportless because you flip it upside down and you print the legs up in the air. And the other really nice thing about this, sometimes your wooden decking can look a little bit flat because they're flipping the support pieces up upside down so that you're using a nice flat printer bed. They've then got a second layer that you stick over the top that goes at a different angle. So you've got some customization on these pieces.
Okay.
For boards that have fallen down and everything else.
Okay, that's interesting, because normally stuff like planking prints terribly on FDM, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because the layer line distortion in very
particularly
thin
in this
detail.
orientation, the wooden housing you can get away with.
Yeah.
Because it's on the vertical surface, but the flatness of the decking is a real nightmare to print.
Oh, I see. Yeah, there's a sheet that goes over the top. Oh, that's quite clever. I do like that.
I quite like the look of this for Malifaux, multi-award winning Moonstone.
Yeah. Um. Yeah.
Wild West Exodus, Swamp.
Yeah. Swamp is what I would
Like,
think. In Malifaux, we could use it for swamp. Yeah. I like this. I do like the way that they've thought about all of these geometric modular pieces,
yep.
so that you can actually build a layout of your choice or create yourself a set.
And you can customize the height of them by cutting off the height of them in the slicer, so you can make shorter
Gotcha.
decking, taller decking, and everything else
Yeah,
depending
yeah.
on what you fancy. And
Presumably as well, this building you can cut the stories off with. You've got obvious demarcation beams where it's like slice here or drop it through the bed.
yeah, well, they're built in layers. They're each floor is its own layer.
Okay, so actually they're already sectional. I tell you what, again, all credit to them. They look like, to me, again, just spitballing, these look like these have been designed to minimize hobby overhead.
Yeah,
Because
again, it's very minimal. Again, everything's a wood, isn't it?
Exactly.
So
Look
again,
at
you could
that.
pan the shit out of it,
Yeah,
and then use dirty down moss and lichen and
Yeah.
an airbrush and some dry brushing, and it'll come out beautifully.
Yeah.
That is the one thing I will critique on the printable scenery stuff that I've got, particularly the stuff that we've done for Frostgrave. There is so much stone, wood, brass, metal abutments and
Yep.
stuff like that. It does make it a bit of a chore to paint it.
To be fair, yes, that is a problem, because the buildings look probably a bit more realistic and a bit better when you've got tile roofs, watland orb walls, stone lintels, decorated wooden fascias. But it's like David said, each of those things requires its own attention in terms of paint. If everything is a fucking manky, rotten, half rotten plank of wood, and it doesn't matter whether it's the walls, the roof, the fucking, I mean, yes, what's the downside? Everything looks a bit monochrome and a bit unimpressive.
But again, weathering, oil weathering,
Yeah.
dirty products on this, I think it'll come up beautifully.
Yeah. Having wasted many, many hours of blood, sweat and tears on MDF terrain, I'm willing to sort of like congratulate the people who design with, because I think that's a conscious choice. I think somebody's actually, but these look to me like somebody said,
Considered.
It does look a bit samey, but then somebody else has gone, but yeah, how much less fucking work is it? Just chill your fucking.
The other thing I've just realised you
pants.
could use these for.
Yep.
Lake Town for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, very much so. Yep. Yeah, I like this Kickstarter, mate. How expensive is it?
It's not overly expensive.
What do we got here? €25, all the files. Okay.
Which
That's
is what?
pretty
5
cheap.
houses and a load of gangway planking.
That's £21. That ain't a fucking lot, is it?
No.
That's a lot of STLs. That is 5 houses, 10 platforms, and 10 connectors. I like it. I like it. Very good. Right, we've only got one more, and this is Strike Team.
This is the biggie.
And right, okay, so first,
mild salt warning incoming.
oh my god. Yeah, I mean, again, I guess, yeah. World War II, the decal market is super fucking supported, isn't it? I guess I do like the idea of these stamps versus decals, though. Don't get me wrong. I've worked quite. I'm not scared of working with decals, but ooh, these stamps look so much fucking easier.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just me.
It's you in your old age.
Oh, fucking Ewok! Look at that, Drowned Earth.
Yeah, again, we haven't got to the table in like 4 years.
That is such a good shout, Ewok. Yes, those platforms and walkways would be fantastic for Drowned Earth. And even the ramshackle post-apocalyptic wooden shacks would be good
Maybe
for it.
Flotsam and Jetsam and
Yeah.
laying around.
I tell you what would probably, do you know what would be an awesome Drowned Earth table? Buy that sunken city stuff from Carnivale. You know, the towers that are all like half submerged and at an angle.
Yeah.
And then add in some of that stuff, or some scratch build wooden jettying, and some like, you know, ramshackle houses on stilts. A bit of greenery. You know, a bit of jungle lushness. That would be a fucking amazing table with those two terrain ranges. Or that's another thing that's coming this year, don't forget, guys. Chroma printed fucking Carnivale terrain. Goodbye, wallet. So yes.
Actually, we'll talk about this in a minute, though.
I've got a video
there
to
is
show.
Almost a news article in itself, Chroma.
Okay, so when I first saw this, I was like, it's another Kill Team knockoff. Not really interested. Whatever. But the guys at TT Combat have basically designed 2 games. So what they're doing is they're basically covering the entire range of engagements from the strike team, half a dozen models, close quarters fighting in maybe the interior of a building or very dense, super dense terrain. Then they've got Battle Zone Commander, which is their 40k knockoff, medium-sized game.
Goes up to what? I think
30
Dave said 60 models aside you could go up to?
30 to 60 models, plus 2 vehicles. They've got tanks and APCs, so you got troop transports and other stuff. And then, of course, they've already got Drop Zone Commander, which is the sort of like regimental, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? The sort of command and control style game.
Zoomed out, command and control level.
Deployment of troops using air assets. The real combined arms shit. And so, yeah, I've gone from not really interested to super fucking interested in this. The models, I think, are stunning for this fucker.
Tell you what I'm really excited about, the fact that these models are coming in plastic.
Yeah. Yes.
Not resin.
No.
Plastic.
The only thing that does make me cry about this is all the vehicles are resin only at the moment. And
yeah, and as a
me and TT Combat resin have a bit of a love-hate
relationship.
But the fucking, I don't think there's a bad miniature range in this. I mean, look at these tanks.
Interesting thing I discovered today, because I'm part of the Facebook group. So, Strike Team Commander in the starter set are slightly more dynamically posed. And
so that's these models here. I don't think there's a bigger picture, which is really annoying.
And the miniatures in the Battlezone Commander are push-fit plastics. So possibly slightly less detailed, could be said as an argument. But still looking pretty fucking good on those 3D renders.
And the Strike Team models are definitely resin, yeah?
I don't know that they're definitely resin.
But they're just more detailed.
Dynamically posed.
Oh, okay. So they could be plastic as well. You don't know. But
no,
yeah.
And hence why I'm not putting words in mouth. I'm just saying that
they've added another faction, which is a faction that I think already appears in Drop Fleet, doesn't it, mate?
Yes, Bioficers.
So the Biofficers, or Bioficer, however you pronounce that. They got some great looking big models. I love these sort of flying things and the weird sort of like Resident Evil monster things. Look
Yeah, the
fucking
swoops.
amazing. Again, they're in resin, which is a bit, ooh, please, maybe not. But I mean, Jesus, I just love these. I love these
I mean, again,
Shaltari war suits. These
some of the
Shaltari
commander
war
models,
suits.
some of the commander models are really good as well. They
Yeah, they've
look
got
really
the
nice
because they've
that are
got
in
these
resin.
characters, haven't they, for each faction,
Yeah.
like Behmet, and there was a guy up here for the UCM. I tell
Now,
you what,
interestingly, boys
here's
and
a
girls, when you scroll to the stretch goals a second, sorry to cut across you there, Paul.
right down at the
Um,
bottom.
yeah, when you go down to the stretch goals or the add-ons, you can add on
Okay, so
a
the
booklet
add-ons,
for
that's
the
here.
battle zone rules.
Yeah, here we go.
When you can get so how it's broken down for pledge levels. There's a strike team
No,
commander pledge, which is the 2-player starter box. There's a battle zone commander pledge, which is a 2-player starter box. Then there's a faction core box, which
let
is
me go to
similar
the top.
to
Hang on.
slightly more than what you'll get in your slightly more than what you'll get in your 2-player starter, but it is specifically for one faction.
Yeah, what they call the faction commander pledge. So a troop
Um,
bundle of your choice, dice tokens, Kickstarter cover, character cards, battle map. The other thing to bear in mind, the Strike Team Commander game plays on a 1-inch square grid. The Battle Zone Commander is a true free measure open table game. So
yeah.
they do as part of the Kickstarter terrain packs, which you can buy.
Chroma or normal MDF?
Yeah,
Take your pick.
well, no,
Choose your poison.
they've got 2 levels of chroma. This is such a huge Kickstarter. There's so much fucking shit here. So you've got 2 levels of chroma. You've got what they call their quick build chroma. So this bottom picture here shows you've basically just got MDF screen printed or somehow paint spray printed. Then they've varnished it or protected it with a resin coating to stop it chipping and peeling. Or you've got the more detailed chroma where they've got each of these pieces is painted with its own texture and finish, but then when you press you assemble it into layers, so
Night, Darren.
it gives you recessed windows and balconies, and they're not super deep details. They are just literally
But
probably a few mil.
you get more of a 3D effect than just the flat printing.
Yeah,
Because that has been one of our criticisms of the Micro Art Studio stuff. It does just look a little flat when it's built.
yeah. And I'll be honest, and like David said, you can also get their plain MDF if you want the super dirt cheap option. I'll be honest, I'm tempted to back this Kickstarter just for some of the terrain. One of the things I was quite interested in was these ruins. Now, obviously, you look at this ruin set that's on the screen at the minute, and you think, oh, that's very 40k. And it does look like classic 40k ruins. So I thought, I wonder what they look like, and I hunted round, and I found this video which shows off. I think it's muted. I'll try and find some of the shots. Now look at this. This is the layered chroma stuff. I think this looks pretty fucking banging. Basically, what you're looking at is what you buy. You just have to PVA the thicknesses together. I think it's 3 thicknesses.
Sounds about right.
That, to me, looks pretty damn good. For 0 work except for a bit of gluing. I don't know what you guys think. I don't think it's particularly overpriced either.
No, not when you consider how much time and effort you're going to save by just sticking layers together.
I would heartily recommend people go and check out some of the terrain that's associated with this Kickstarter, even if the game doesn't appeal to you that much. Check out some of this terrain for your 40k or your Games Workshop games or your Mantic Firefight or whatever, because it looks pretty fucking good stuff to me. One other thing I will mention.
Yeah, go on.
Go on. What were you going to say?
Regards Tim's comment of what happened to not buy a new game?
Well,
both me and Paul are in love with the Drop Zone universe.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Tim. You are spot on. I am actually quite torn, I'll say this. I'm going to defend myself like this. I am not yet convinced I will back for the games because I haven't seen the rules, and there is no free rules at the minute. There are some really, really basic playthrough videos like how to do a shoot action, how to do a move action in on TT Combat's YouTube channel. But and I'll be honest, it looks like a really basic D6 system, very reminiscent. Basically, they've taken Drop Zone Commander, tweaked it to the absolute minimum they have to make it work. So it doesn't look to me like it's really stretching the boundaries of game design. So will I be buying the games? At the moment, I'm not going to say yes. One thing I will say is the miniatures have captured me more than that tends to happen, to be honest. It's very rare I see miniatures and think, do you know what, I could collect this just for the minis. But the terrain, again.
Well, that's one thing I will say though. TT Combat do always make some banging minis. I mean, look at Carnivale.
I mean, look at
Carnivale's again another game that you've said, oh, I could collect multiple
I could
things.
collect all of the Carnivale terrain just because it's fucking gorgeous. And the only thing that stops me is that I've got to paint it all. And I know that I'd probably die with a fucking airbrush in my hand or a rattle can. So I won't do it for that reason. But look at this. Chroma Strike Team board. Can you imagine that chroma coloration and chroma surface detailing on a interior design map or set like this? Now, caveat, we haven't seen, I can't find on the internet any photos or videos of this. All of the Strike Team promo footage seems to be set outside, with among containers and things like that. So we haven't seen this in the flesh. But if this is as
and the board that we saw at UK Games Expo, I think was very much designed for a UK Expo diorama.
Yeah, it was just it wasn't anything like this. It was like you say, it was a purposely constructed display piece. But if this has got any degree of modularity and looks halfway as good as that other chroma terrain, I'd buy this to use with fucking Infinity, fucking Space Hulk, quick, give me a game. What about bloody, what's that, Space Station Zero?
Yeah.
Any sci-fi skirmish level miniatures game, Kill Team, fucking so excited for the terrain. And that is the news. We're done. Yeah, definitely a campaign to look at. See, there was no salt there. That was just pure enthusiasm.
No, my only salt was hang on a minute, why is there rules for not Strike Team as an add-on for your pledge, but you can't get a Strike Team rule book.
That does, but yeah, You don't know. We
Just
did
strikes me of incompetence.
we did speculate whether the rules were both included in the book. So, like, because they do seem very similar. You know, a bit like bundling a version of Kill Team in the back of the 40k book, sort of thing. But
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say. Well, don't get me wrong, dude. I know what you're trying to say, but
or it could just be a complete gaff, where you can't buy the Strike Team rulebook on its own, which does seem a bit mad, frankly.
Especially when they're pitching it as this cross-compatible thing.
Yeah. So there we go. We're done for news. Shall we get into the main topic?
Yeah. I suppose we're always getting older, so we might as well get the fuck on with it.
Yeah, the topic becomes more relevant with each tick of the clock. So this was one that you sort of proposed, didn't it? Wasn't it, mate?
Yeah.
And it was sort of provoked by your turn in the big 3-0, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna hold my hands up and say the past week for me has been a bit manic. I've handed my notice in at my job, and I've got another one lined up. And approaching 30 and having that lumbering over my head, along with my house and spam and other bits and pieces, I started really questioning life choices. But I was going to work Wednesday morning on my birthday, and I think I messaged you, didn't I? Once I got to work and went, dude, how about we do this for stream? So obviously we've talked a lot around tools. We've talked a lot around what me and Paul like in a game. We've talked around elements of the hobby, all of that kind of good stuff. None of us are getting any younger as we play and hobby and do what we love and enjoy. So I wanted to sort of have a discussion around it because, again, yeah, I'm only 30, but at the rate I'm going, I'm probably still going to be in this hobby in my 60s, like a certain dickhead above me.
Yeah, not far off my 60s. I think the other reason why this could be interesting is that my sort of view as your friend is that the last 12 months, probably maybe a little bit longer, have seen your life circumstances change a lot. And you could maybe comment on how that's changed your outlook or approach. Because effectively, you've gone from living at home with your parents and being in a job you've been in for literally bloody forever, to buying your own house, changing jobs, and it'd be interesting to see your reflection, or hear rather your reflections on how that's impacted on your hobby. I think the way I would sort of like open the sort of discussion on this is that, obviously, as we said at the top of the show, I've been doing this for basically 40 years. And I think the problem with wargaming is it's quite an all-consuming hobby for all sorts of reasons. It consumes your time, it consumes space, it consumes money, and it just consumes aspects of your attention that perhaps other leisure activities don't. I mean, don't get me wrong. Let's say for example, you're into cycling. You know, I am sure that if you're into cycling, you can spend a ton of time out on your bike.
I love the venom in your voice as you say that.
I'm not. That's not intentional. I'm just sort of saying that there are some. In fact, actually, I'm trying to make the opposite. Oh, Crispin, that's a shame, mate. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, that would definitely get in the way. I I was trying to be the opposite. I didn't want to be dismissive. You know, if that's your hobby, that's your hobby. And you probably shop for, right, you know, cycling gear, bikes, you go out, you plan journeys, you might even plan entire cycling holidays where you take a week off work and do like a 300-mile fucking trip over the Dales or whatever. But the thing with
Because you are
wargaming
mad.
is you tend to have that level of fucking you tend to be like that sort of level of intense, but a lot of the time
Yeah.
it just seems to be there's always something to be doing or preparing or shopping for, or it's like it's a full on thing. And obviously the thing with that is you can't accommodate it to the same degree in your life at different ages. So
No, so if we roll back the clock 10 years,
yeah,
because I've been in this hobby just over 10 years now. I got into it as I went off to uni, started playing 40k, didn't really get involved in any of the uni clubs because I didn't have any of the time for the course that I was with the course that I was on, but they were there, they were available. There was a war games and a board games club at Loughborough where I was at uni. And I always felt a little bit jealous and envious that I didn't have the time to do it because the course I was on was so intense. But looking back now, I was at uni and I had a placement year. Basically, all of that time I was in a one bed place. Either it was a house share or a house of multiple occupancy kind of situation. While I was there, I didn't have storage space for the board game and war game collection that I have now. And I was very focused on one thing. I was very focused on doing my 40k stuff kind of thing.
So when you were at
Similarly,
uni, 40k was the thing, was it?
Yeah, 40k was what I was doing. I had salamanders and I had my Tau. So I had two armies that I was building and working on. And then life happened. I had a small child. I came home from university, got a job, etc., but was still living in very similar circumstances at my parents' house. I had a little bit more free reign and I had a lot more free time, but I didn't have the space to do like I've done now with Paul, of inviting him over and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it was my parents' house, so I was holding on to Paul's shoestrings, and then Paul went off to Scotland.
To be fair,
we
at that point we had the bigger house because obviously Ross and I have changed our circumstances. So in a way, it worked quite well. Also, there was always club, wasn't there, mate? Club has always been there as a unifying factor.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can chime in, is like my story is slightly different, but similar in some ways. So, like, I got into it earlier than you, so I was still at secondary school, grammar school. I was already doing Dungeons and Dragons, and then there's a lad who lived literally 4 houses down from me on my street called Chris. Excellent guy, bit younger than me, but he was turned out to be a fantastic friend for many years, even at uni. And basically, Chris and I got into miniature wargaming. Now, we did have a couple of other guys from Boston who sort of like dipped their toe in, but hello, Jeremy. Good to see you chiming in, mate. So basically, like, Chris and I were at school, and like, for example, when Space Hulk came out, I was round Chris's pretty much every evening until we had played Space Hulk to death. we played it in the evenings, we played it at the weekends, we played it and we played it and we played it. And I literally, because again, when you're a child, time is the one thing that you are not short on as a resource. You have endless amounts of it. And we used to play games all of the time. Obviously, like, no, not that Boston. Boston, the town in Lincolnshire on the East Coast, Tim. Um, uh, then I went to university like David. So you move into halls. I had to leave all of my shit at home because there was literally no way it was going to go into halls. So I basically did without the hobby for a year, apart from little spells when I went home for breaks. When we moved into a student house, things began to get a bit more practical. So we were able to play 40k games on the kitchen table. I was able to have the attic room at St Margaret's Place, one of our houses. So I had like a painting table under a skylight. And I was able to get back into the hobby. But obviously, because the miniatures thing was awkward to do, I turned back to role-playing games because they were really easy for students to do. Somebody just buys a book and you sit around getting drunk and just scribbling stuff on pieces of paper. It's free. It's an affordable way to engage with tabletop hobby, and that's what we did. That was my primary focus while I was at university, I think.
Yeah.
And that was sort of when I fell out of 40k because it was making the transition. Third edition was in, and then I sort of fell out of it. So I missed fourth and fifth, and most of sixth, because once I'd fallen out of the miniatures thing, I then started doing card games and other stuff. Because again, I left uni. I met my wife. She'd got a ready-made family with 5 children. And basically, it's like when you've got kids around, miniatures are too intense. I was doing cards, a bit of computer and console gaming. So my whole hobby changed drastically with all of those periods of my life. And I think this is fairly universal, isn't it? I'm just going to skip across.
You have
skip across
bits
to
and
look at the
starts
comments.
and stuff changing and stuff in your life. But again, looking forward, one of the things I'm most excited about is introducing my lad to wargaming. He's already started with Gaslands, and we've built cars together, and we've done some painting and other bits and pieces since he was a younger lad. He's now approaching the age where actually he can play a game, he can understand rules that aren't as abstracted as they were in the early days, etc.
Yeah. I think from what you've said, he copes really well with some of the games that you've played with him.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm looking forward to going forward, is helping him discover wargaming like I did. Because again, I came from a slightly different background. I obviously came from Airfix and Revel kits and shit like that. So I already had some of the tools and the paint and other bits and pieces, and I then converted into wargaming. That was my background into it. And certain things came in absolutely clutch at university, like my airbrush, for some of the projects and stuff that I was doing at uni was an absolute godsend to have that as a tool that I'd invested in to then use for the projects that I was working on, kind of thing, which was really nice. But coming back to what Paul said, obviously we've grown up, as we said. We've always had that unifying bond of club. Me and Paul have always bollocks. Where did he disappear? Where did he go? In the bin.
That's a slightly fucking you know, it's harsh judgment on your own paint job there, mate. Just chuck it straight in the bin.
We've always had that unifying bond, but we as mates have been quite close outside of just the club aspect. That's why we obviously spend so much time around each other's houses, much to our missus's dismay. Which actually we didn't mention, did we? We wrote
That's
spam
true.
into a Arkham Horror LCG campaign that we started on Saturday, and very frustratingly was one turn away from winning, and the game went fuck you.
Yeah, we went. No, you think you're gonna win this scenario, but actually, no, you're all just fucking dead. So there you go.
This stream is turning into a confession of love. Yeah, quite possibly.
Quite possibly.
Tim.
Yeah. So I think what does the last, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, I don't even know what it is. So the last 10 or 15 minutes is really our way of saying that one aspect of the miniature war game hobby is the logistics and the practicalities of it. And because it's so intensive in all the resources that we set out at the beginning, all of the other stuff in your life will impinge upon how you experience the hobby. And I think it's quite...
Again, your family circumstances, the fact that if you've got young kids, you can't really sit at home painting miniatures for 10, 15 hours a week because you've got children to look after.
Yeah. And that, you know, well, I mean, again, to be fair, even if you've got a super spouse who sort of like takes on all the childcare and gives you that opportunity in that window, don't miss out on on your young kids. Do you know what I mean? Even if somebody gives you the opportunity, it's still probably best not to be sitting under a painting lamp when you've got a 2-year-old that you really want to get to know before they're a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, and before you know it, a 25-year-old. Because trust me, blink and you'll fucking miss that.
Fucking hell, Ewok, that got dark.
Trust Ewok. Strap on. Fucking hell. I'll tell you what I did see was quite interesting. I wanted to pick up on Jeremy's comment. Jeremy said about not being basically more of a painter collector, not doing the gaming thing, which is a perfectly valid way, I think, to do miniatures and miniature wargaming, even if you don't game. But then he said, I think this is my get off my lawn outlook and I don't like being around people. And I was going to ask, do you think it's a personal thing, mate? Or is it that you can't make room for every aspect of the hobby because that would be too much time, too much commitment? So you've just focused in on what you actually enjoy most?
Something that piques your interest and gets you going.
Because obviously we don't know your personal circumstances. So I was just interested to get a little bit more out of that. So I can see we're getting fucking roasted for Brokeback Expo in the comments.
We did gloss over Brokeback Expo. They're already suggesting that my partner get a strap on and a false beard.
I did see that.
To infiltrate the boy gang. So,
I mean,
what's a little
do you know what?
brotherly love?
Do you know what? It is worth mentioning. Shout out to our life partners, spouses, wives, whatever. Because I tell you, in terms of needing a sympathetic spouse for the hobby, don't underestimate that.
Oh, definitely. The amount of space that my hobby takes up, I've already been roasted for.
Do you know what I mean?
And we don't live together.
Because the other thing is like, I'm not saying it never happens, but I think most of us wargamers are resigned to the fact that our hobby is not something that the fairer sex is going to take a great deal of interest in. The male to female ratio in wargaming, as all of you are probably aware by now, who've been in the hobby for more than 5 minutes, is fairly highly male.
Roll back to several streams ago where we were analysing this and talking about this.
I have no idea of the exact statistics, but this is a pretty Y chromosome environment that we're in at the moment. And actually,
And again,
having a spouse who is frankly tolerant of the huge amounts of commitment that this hobby takes is not something to be fucking neglected or taken for
again,
granted, frankly.
the other thing I want to hit on the head here is we're obviously saying the older you are, sort of the better hobbying is.
Now, do you know what? This
But
might be controversial.
I was just about to say myself that actually there is something quite childish about sitting in a room with a mate, drinking a beer, playing a game, and making make believe with your little plastic men on the table and hucking some dice.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. The headspace when I was crawling around on Chris Maraz's or Stuart Hunt's floor playing 40k because we didn't even have any terrain or proper tables, so we were literally playing on the fucking bedroom or living room carpet. In my head, it feels pretty much the same, even when playing with awesome terrain at the local club and fully painted armies.
Yeah.
You know, the mental engagement is still play. It's still that childlike aspect. But do you know what? That brings us nicely on. We've discussed logistics, practicalities, how, because in a way those are sort of enforced factors. Your life will change as you go through life. Your circumstances will change in an arc, and your hobby has to adapt. But there's also like an internal change sometimes, probably not necessarily all the time. But shall we have the conversation about, do your hobby tastes and drives change over that
Well,
time?
before we come on to that one,
Go on. Yeah.
do we want to talk about the downsides of getting older and the hobby? Currently looking at your fucking magnifiers on your forehead.
I mean, do you know what? As we're talking about practicalities and things that you can't do anything about, you know, that's not a bad shout, mate. Because it's very much in this wheelhouse. Because, like David said, there can be the thing
there's a downside to getting older. You
get
lose
into your
mobility.
50s. You get into your 50s. Your children have grown up, left home. You've probably had a reasonably good career path if you're very lucky, and you're in a more comfortable job that's better paid, and if you're lucky, less stressful. So, in terms of spending money on your hobby, time on your hobby, you've opened up a lot of doors as you've gone through your life. But like David said, life has also put these obstacles in front of you, like failing eyesight, and in some cases,
struggling with fine motor skills
yeah,
and assembling tiny little pieces.
Essential male tremor is quite common in middle-aged and older men. Also happens in ladies, but just happens to be more common in men. And again, all of those things. I mean, there could even be cognitive issues. What war games are not, you know, war games are
burdensome,
mentally complicated and mentally taxing by design. And Mike Hutchinson's and I keep forgetting the other bloke's name.
Jerry Summer.
Yeah, Jerry Brook North something. Anyway, their Fundamentals of the Miniatures Wargame book has got some great things about. It's got a great chapter about why war games are complex on purpose. That is such a good book, by the way. When we are definitely going to do a stream about it when I've finished mining it for little nuggets. Yeah, I mean, again, diabetes, losing your eyesight. all sorts of things. We do get in the worst cast sort of way, Tim. Yeah, as we get older, we can get very stupid. Obviously, some of us have a head start. Obviously, like you.
Heyo.
Love you, Tim. Love you, Timothy. But yeah, that's definitely a thing. Again,
even just simple things like hearing. Your hearing, you don't think about it as part of the hobby.
that's true.
But when you're sat there chilling and rocking out with your music while you're painting miniatures, and your kids come down and complain because your music's too loud, that's the thing.
Yeah. Well, and to be fair, that impacts the hobby on the bit that Jeremy was talking about, which is like the social thing.
Yeah.
You know, you don't necessarily need your hearing to keep doing your painting and that, but games with a friend in a crowded gaming hall when there's shit tons of background noise probably get a little bit tricky.
What was that, spam?
Are you doing a deaf joke when there's no sound?
Yes, I am.
You're such a brat. Oh my god. I can't believe you're what, fucking nearly 25 years younger than me and you're doing the dad jokes. What the fuck?
I have an excuse. I have a 10-year-old.
Oh dear, that's fucking mad.
I mean, Damon's just sort of hit the nail on the head. He had a massive waking call when he attended a patient who had a massive paralysing stroke 3 days after he retired early,
man.
after slogging it for 30 years to retire early.
Yeah. Touch wood. I had a similar wake up call, Damon, but unfortunately my father had it for me. He was literally 59 years of age. He was selling his business. He'd bought himself a brand new motorhome to go around Portugal. First of his retirement activities that he was going to do. Bang. Fortnight, he was dead of cancer. Multi-organ. And I totally get it, mate. I totally get it. It's like, because you think it's all right making your plans, but unfortunately, Mother
Life has
Nature,
a way
God,
of ruining
call
them
it what
for
you
you.
will.
Yeah.
He might have other ideas about your plans. So yeah, no, it's very true, mate. Which is, but again, do you know what the moral of that story is? Live in the moment. Make the most of every moment. Don't
make what you can of it now. Don't sit there and plan for 5-10 years, because you might not get 5
do you
or
know
10
what?
years.
There's nothing wrong with having plans and ambitious plans at that. I mean, I've been really getting into my campaign book for Bolt Action that I got bought for Christmas, and getting excited about doing an entire American, Japanese, Pacific Island hopping campaign. But I tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to shelve everything so that I can do that in 2 years' time. It'll be something that I think about and keep on the back burner. But if I'm going to take every club night as it comes as an opportunity to explore gaming and play a game. Just play a game of whatever it is.
Yeah, enjoy your little toy soldiers.
Yeah. What about? I mean, like I say, we've talked about it briefly. What about the changing tastes? So, like, obviously, I don't know. I think
we've talked about it before on stream, haven't we?
Yeah.
That a lot of us have unfortunately started out with Daddy GW in the corner and got sick and tired of Daddy GW, and some of us have left the hobby, some of us have stayed in the hobby and found new and diverse things. Some of us have developed and grown. Some of us have sort of found our niche after we got rid of Daddy GW. But the point being, a lot of people that I've come across in this hobby are 10, 15, 20 years my senior. Started out with GW when I was a glint in my father's eye kind of thing, and got very sick and tired of it to begin with. And I'm quite lucky that I'm where I am now, and enjoying it for what I want now.
Can I ask
But
you a
again,
question, mate, regarding to what
yeah,
you've just said? Obviously,
go on.
you've been in the hobby about 13 years, did you say to me when we were talking about
Yeah,
this?
something like that.
Okay. Now, you've just mentioned, obviously, there's a lot of grognardy bastards like me that were in right at the beginning. We played Games Workshop's first board games that were just cardboard tokens, things like battle cars and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And we've gone right the way through. And there's a lot of us have said, that was nice, now I'm moving on. But we've
Yeah.
done that over a 30-year arc. You've sort of
I've
done
done that I've done that very quickly. I did that in about
yeah, and that
5,
leads
6
to my
years.
question. Do you think that's happened to you quicker because of your exposure to tosspots like me, or do you think it would have happened faster for you because of reasons to do with you? I'm just sort of interested what you
I
think.
genuinely think it's a combination.
Okay.
I think meeting you and having you as a friend,
Yeah.
we played some 7th edition 40k and everything else, and then 8th rolled around. And I started not being overly happy with 8th and the changes that had been made at that point. So me and you played some Age of Sigmar and some other stuff, didn't we?
Yes. Yeah. We experimented
And
with that
then
first edition of Sigmar.
and then with you, we naturally found other things. Frostgrave.
Frostgrave was a big connection for us, wasn't it, initially? We played a lot of it.
And I think that's what then drove me into try something out. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
developing my tastes, etc.
That was the first
I
trigger.
was coming to the end of it, and again, the club scene at that point, actually, this is quite a good point. The club scene at the point that I got sick and tired of 40k was quite 40k focused.
It was, yeah.
Because we had Matt, Chris, Barber, who occasionally wanders in here, DW, all playing 40k.
There was that chap who used to come from Boston quite regularly.
Will,
yeah. Like you
Reese
say, the
well.
40k scene was actually quite buzzing, wasn't it?
Yeah, 40k, because again, I think even me and you said at that time, we actually need some more sci-fi terrain for 40k, because we're running out of tables, etc.
Yeah.
Hence why we ended up doing like the Drowned Earth stuff that we did and
Yeah.
other bits and pieces. You've definitely been a driving force in developing my hobby, but I think I was on that arc anyway, and on that arc probably quicker than my peers as well.
Right.
Because there are people that
would and again
started at club. Here's the thing: there's people that started at our club at a similar time to me that are still 40k focused and still enjoy 40k and GW Hotless.
Okay.
Rather than being at the point I'm at. And again, not knocking the lads for it if you're watching this afterwards. It's just that we're different people and everybody has their own taste. And I suppose this is what then leads into you having sort of the past 24 months, you've had a real fucking hankering for historicals, haven't you?
I'm really starting to get the historical bug. I really became aware of it last year when I played a lot of games with bolt action. I played like 6 in a year, which is more than I've played in any other year of bolt action. And then I started watching videos about like English Civil War, War of the Roses, looking at the miniature ranges and the rule sets for that. And I know for me, I am going to be doing a lot more of that going forward, because it's like now, I can, like if I go back 2 years, I would have watched 40k battle reports on guerrilla miniature games, playing games like Relic Blade and any sort of weird little indie skirmish game. I would now just as happily watch an endless YouTube playlist on theories and historical documentaries and stuff about the fall of Singapore and the Malaya campaign. And I'm like, and I'm there making me notes and think, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah.
Okay, apparently, which one's which, Tim? Not to get political. I do like Ewok's comment there. There's always two Sith, the Master and the Apprentice, although you're more like the Salter than the Sith.
The Salter.
I'll tell you the thing,
That's
though,
cool.
Paul, and this is sort of thing that makes me envious of your generation, because unfortunately, I was one of the first generations to grow up with the internet in my pocket.
Yes.
And particularly at the point that obviously I was starting to get into the hobby, the internet was in my pocket.
Yeah.
Damon sort of hit on it here with the latest new hotness and FOMO become a dominant part of the hobby over the past 10 to 15 years. Before that, it seemed to move a lot slower. And I think some of that has to do with the advent of the internet and the fact that we can talk and converse with people in America, people in Canada, Europe, etc., far more than we ever used to. It's a much more global and involved community now than when you started in the hobby. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you first joined the hobby, it was you, your local mates that you hung out with down at GW and other bits and pieces and people in your village and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You're right, and I do agree that perhaps at the minute that it's a bit too much. There is the industry is a little bit too dynamic. There are too many games clamoring for your attention. The quality is incredibly high. The good news is, I think the other thing that's changed is it's far easier for people to make a project work or get it to market. Obviously, back in the day, to even get
whether
a
that's
project,
for good or bad reasons, like you said,
pre everybody having something that they can read PDFs on their wrist, or a home laser printer, or now a home resin or FDM printer. Getting a miniature game launched required absolutely colossal amounts of capital, or absolute minimum wage, work for nothing dedication, working out of your garage for years, spinning your own resin and metal miniatures, and selling your photocopied rule books at markets and events. I think, is the marketplace too flooded? Yes. Is the constant barrage of social media and newness, is it a problem? I think it potentially has reached the point where it's a bit toxic as an environment for newcomers. I think I can totally understand why somebody would walk into a gaming club or even go on a great channel like on Tabletop on YouTube and be overwhelmed within 10 minutes. Like, how many fucking games are there? How many different models? How many rule sets? What the fuck am I looking at?
Well, I mean, again, you just look at what we spoke about in the news. If Drop Zone was something that excites you, you now have 3 options.
Yeah. If you like the sound of the IP, you've now got 3 games that you can engage with. And again, it's all right. I understand what the difference between the 10mm Drop Zone Commander and Strike Team Commander is in terms of game experience, tactics, strategies, rules. I get all of that. But if you're fucking new, how the hell do you even process that? And it does worry me a bit. The thing is like, I tell you what I wanted to ask before we run out of time. Ewok, if you're still here, you said that you were out of the hobby for 27 years. That is really common. I imagine most of us here had an issue. If we started as children, teenagers, when we went through the first mortgage, young children, we may even have dropped out of the hobby altogether. Like I did pretty much at university. I probably played about 3 games of 40k in 5 years at uni because it just wasn't practical. But what I was going to ask you, Ewok, is when you came back, was your whole approach and taste, were your hobby tastes different from when you left? Because obviously there's a difference between being pushed out of something because of the logistics and the practicalities and then going back to it when you can. And the other scenario is like David was talking about a minute ago, where you actually turn your back and walk away from something, not because you can't do it, but because you just don't want to do that particular thing anymore, and you want to do something else. Tim says, when I was new, there was 40k Epic, BFG, and Gorka Walker, and for a long time I thought it was all the same. Yeah. You see, I mean, again, even Games Workshop.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not like it's something new necessarily.
To be honest with you, though, Games Workshop came to the realization with Warmaster, Epic, Space Hulk and their specialist games that they were cannibalizing their own audience. That's why Games Workshop basically retired all of the specialist games or made them short windows of opportunity, because they learned back in the late 90s, early 2000s, they learned that we're a small community. Fucking people who want to play with toy soldiers are not on every street corner. And
I mean, again, it's like
they didn't want to cannibalize their own audience. Sorry, mate, carry on.
One of my mates that I went to secondary school with, because I was getting into it at that point, sort of, this is sixth form, so I was just turning 18. So again, like we say, 12 odd years ago, he'd fallen out of love with 40k at that point, and he's like, "Oh, have you seen Drop Zone?" and got the miniatures out and showed me and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Yeah, but it's basically only you that I'd be playing with, and we're both going off to uni. So what's the point?" kind of thing. Lo and behold, I leave uni, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'll fucking get some Drop Zone." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's being fire sailed and hosed because it's dying. It's a weird world. It's a really weird world.
I must confess, that's another thing.
Ewok's replied to you.
Oh, I stopped playing because there was no one to play with. Got more into music and PC gaming later. I went arts and crafts, then artist, onto board games circa 27. The hobby satisfied my love of games and my creative side at the same time. So when you got back into it though, mate, did you sort of leave on the same terms as when you left? What I'm asking is, did you experience any change in taste?
When you left, did you come back and,
to be clearer,
play the shit that you were playing when you left, or did you come back and go, well, actually, I'm more fancying some sci-fi or equivalent, insert here now comment?
Yeah. Because, like, for example, I took a large period of time out from leaving uni, late 90s, right through to I don't know, mate, 2015, maybe 2000, early 2010s, maybe.
I was going to say, you'd been at club and set up the club for, I think, a good 2 or 3 years before I came, and that would have been 2015, 2016 when I came.
Yeah, so probably early teens, 20 teens, was when I started to get back into it. And to be fair, I re-entered where I'd left off, which was with all the 40k and fancy miniatures I still had hoarded back at my house.
Yeah.
But I very quickly moved on with exposure to things like Beasts of War as it was then, Guerrilla Miniature Games. As soon as I realised, do you know
Ewok
what?
was an RPG back in the day. Moving into miniature gaming was a new step.
Okay, mate. So when you say you took 27-year break from the hobby, you weren't even a miniature gamer at the. Okay, again, tastes change. Fucking hell, Gaslands was the game that started him on his gaming journey. You see, so, and again,
Wow, Mike, hats off to you, Mike.
yeah, I mean, it's a great game, a great entry product. Right, I've got a question for everybody at home. Let's just pause the main topic for a second. So now then, this lady has got a scarf around her neck, and without going explosion in a Skittles factory, I've just realised the blonde hair probably isn't going to work with this colour palette because it's just going to get fucking lost, isn't it? But then again, the orange isn't going to work either because of the blouse. I need to have a rethink. But what do I do for the scarf?
Could you
Doing
throw just a little
Santa!
Could you just throw a little bit of purple in there?
I did. You know what? I looked at purple. I did look at purple. You know.
Or
Yeah, go on.
Or
All me up.
Shout. Sunset Red, number 41.
Do you know what? Sunset Red 41. Do you know what? Ewoks, almost in a jokey way, just said you Russian uniform, but I don't think with that colour palette it's actually a bad choice. What did you say? 41?
Yeah.
Sunset Red. It's a bit
you
pink.
Yeah, but I think it'll work because it's dark enough, and it'll just be a little splash of colour on her neckerchief. Because it is literally just that knot in front of the neck, isn't it?
Yeah, because she's got a mop fringe and scruffy looking hair.
Do you see what I mean? You could get away with it.
Do you know what? It's just mad enough it might work. And like you say, it's the opposite to the... Fuck off, Throw a bit of purple in there. Sounds like a Brokeback Expo conversation.
Sir, would you like to come down to my camera?
Fucking hell. I'll tell you what, you guys. So glad we're not monetized. I'm not doing tartan. Have you seen how small it is, Tim? Have you seen how fucking small it is? Okay.
I've thrown some wash on that skin.
Okay.
It's still wet, mind. But
what wash did you use?
Athonian camo shade, but thinned to fuck.
How do you think it's gone?
I think it's gone okay. Because I don't necessarily want to tint it too much. The only thing I might do is go in and do the stitching to pull that out a bit more.
Yeah, make it look as separate.
Yeah,
okay, that's fair. We need to see it dry. I wonder if it needs to be more... Because does it look much like skin now?
Yeah, it's still got the pink hue to it.
You think? Obviously...
Yeah, it's still got the pink hue to it. There you go.
Fair play. As I say, the greenness of that Athonian is just coming through really strongly on the camera, but you're seeing it in the flesh, and I think it's probably different, isn't it? Your lighting does tend to skew
obliterate all colours.
Yeah.
I mean, again, he's got some...
Those look fucking awesome. Those models.
They're basically done now. I've got to just do some metal detail work and some wood on this.
Yeah.
And then we're good to go. I think I'm going to do these for the painting comp, though. Loves Company, because it's a little gang.
Do Love's... What, Corn Warriors and Vampires for Love's Company? Oh, it's because
they're... Possibly just the...
Because they're mates.
Just the Corn Warriors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just possibly the Corn Warriors.
Fair play. Fair play.
I've got to just do her like the trousers on a couple of these and some of the fur. But I don't think the dry brushing's come back on the bad either.
No, I mean fur's perfect for dry brushing, though, isn't it? Let's see what this looks like.
And I've got to get some gaudy hair colours out yet as well, but we'll do that after.
Actually, this isn't as explosion in a Skittles.
I put some skeleton horde. The problem, I think, with skeleton horde, it's going to tint it too browny, because it's a very browny yellow, isn't it?
Yeah, I think at the moment their skins are looking a bit too leathered. They want to look more corny and livid.
How do you mean, like some purple in there?
Well, maybe even just red. I don't know. It depends on how you want it.
I could always warm it back up with a flesh wash.
Yeah. See, the thing is, you need to let that Ethonian dry.
Fully dry, yeah.
Before you can know. Actually, do you know what? This is not. It's funny how once you get paint in a context, it looks very different. Like the lid on that paint pot looked insanely pink, but actually, it isn't as crazy as it looks.
Right. Give us a little show then before we go, because we've got to be rounding stream off, mate. It's 3 minutes past 10.
Yeah. I haven't finished it, and I'm still not sure. I'm still not sure about the hair. I don't think blonde is going to work because I've got far too much yellow shit. I've still got your fucking video.
No, I haven't got Crusader skinny. Because that's an army painter, isn't it?
Well, overexposed. I think that looks quite good. I've just painted that gap in there.
It's just a little splash of colour. I know what you're saying, but don't forget as well, you're going to agrax the shit out of it afterwards.
Yep. And because I thought, even knocking that back, it's going to look a bit fucking candy pink, but it doesn't look it at all. And like I say, you've got all those warm, earthy colours round it. Slap the agrax on, that'll look good. It's just, what am I going to do with the hair? Whether I go, do I go brown into an almost grey? Oh, I don't know. That's a problem for future me. Right, guys. Do you know what, Tim? The more I think about it, the more grey I think is going to work for the colour mix. But we'll see. Anyway, we need to finish the stream. It's 10 o'clock.
We do.
Thank you very much for being here. If you were with us over the last couple of hours, super thanks to all of the people in chat, the people who participated and made the show what it is. These are the co-stars. We're just a couple of idiots who put these people on the internet, and they deserve every minute. If you can find time to do only one thing, please click the like button. If you want to do the other YouTubey stuff that's listed underneath, then do that. But if you can click the like button, that's all we personally ask for. Do the other stuff if it adds value to your YouTube experience. That's up to you. And I think with that, we're done for another week.
I'm going to go eat some camembert.
And I'm going to go and eat some humble pie because now I can't go to this fucking tournament.
Dickhead.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
It's another Thursday night. I see Crispin's wearing tights. Sparrow's getting in the bath. Young David's full of wrath. Paul is tightening his straps. Where on his apron you saps. Technical difficulties. They're really such a crime. Technical difficulties. They happen all the time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop on day release. Temperature tries not to crease. And Ewoks keeping nice and warm in bed with Russian uniform. Meanwhile the handyman is opening up the can. Technical difficulties, they're really such a crime. Technical difficulties, they happen all the time. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop 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 time. Cheese is on day release. Temperature tries not to crease. The Ewoks keeping nice and warm in bed with Russian uniform. Meanwhile the handyman is opening another can. It's Yellow Belly Tabletop time. 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 Kiss Me is on day release. Damn me up tries not to crease. And Ewoks keeping nice and warm in bed with Russian uniform. Meanwhile the handyman is opening another can.